A whistleblower says one of the missing scientists was in charge of a classified program related to UFOs. Now, we don't know what's going on, but the government's lied to us for decades about pretty much everything. JFK, lab leak, Epstein, Hunter's laptop, the Russia hoax. And when we ask questions, they call us conspiracy theorists. But just like COVID, we might be right. Dr. Michio Kaku is a theoretical physicist. Doctor, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about this UFO release?
I would put it at a 10 because we're at a turning point. For decades, we had to rely upon eyewitness accounts of housewives, truck drivers. People would snicker and laugh at them. Now we're talking about huge files that are top secret that for the first time in modern history are being given to the American public. So I'd like to congratulate President Trump for having the nerve to go against recommendations by the FBI and the CIA to release these files so that independent researchers, scientists can go over them and we can make up our own minds rather than having the CIA make up our minds.
And the CIA apparently is still fighting the full release. When you hear or see about a UFO that goes like that, up, down, left, right, at 90-degree angles so fast you can't even believe it, what does that tell you?
It tells me that the laws of centrifugal force should crush the bones of the people inside the flying saucer. So either there's basically an automated flying saucer, so there are no bones to crack as the thing goes zigzagging left and right, or it represents a very high level of intelligence to create something like that. So in other words, we humans cannot get into a spaceship that goes zigzagging like that. Only aliens can, but even their bones would break. So it must be a very high level of automated computer technology.
And you're hearing these eyewitness reports from military officials, intelligence officials, 3.5 feet, 4.5 feet, small in stature. They can walk. Why does this seem to be the common description of alien life?
Well, we don't know until we have actual samples of this. That is, close encounters of the second kind. Not just visual hearsay, but real, authentic pound of flesh, the bodies, the wreckage of the flying saucers. That's close encounters of the second kind. That's what we need. And hopefully in these documents, we're going to find some evidence of that. Recovered aircraft of alien technology, the bodies, what have you. Hopefully, in this mountain of declassified documents will be more than just, I saw something last night, dear. Maybe it's, hey, we have the body. We can do autopsies. We can look at the reverse engineer, the engine. That would be the turning point. And I hope that these files make that possible for the first time in history.
There's reluctance to release everything because there's a competition between the Russians and the Chinese. There's an indication there could be a real fight for alternative energy sources. That could be tied into some of these missing scientists. What do you see there?
Well, I see the fact that countries have to get access to energy, and that's what we do at Los Alamos National Laboratories, Jet Propulsion Laboratories. Look at sources of energy, fusion, fission, maybe even antimatter. And perhaps that's the reason why these scientists disappeared out of thin air, or they died in very mysterious circumstances. Somebody wants that technology.
That technology is going to make someone very rich and very powerful. So you want the government to give you something, a sample, maybe a pound of flesh, so you can test it.
Well, that would be ideal.
You don't trust the government to test this stuff. You want independent scientists to get their hands on some things.
I would like to set up a scientific committee that has the know-how to do a dissection like that, to look at the DNA, if they have any DNA, and to find out exactly what their architecture is, whether it's parallel to our evolutionary development or there's another parallel development that we not even know about.
You probably liked dissecting the frog in science in 3rd grade, didn't you, Doctor? You did. You don't have to say it. It's okay. You sick man. Just kidding. Love you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.